And we're live with a new layout.
Hey, what
Exciting.
up, what up, what up?
How's
Welcome
it going,
welcome to
everyone?
that dope 2-minute pre-show.
Oh, yeah. All right, so hopefully this is going smoothly. I don't think I messed with my OBS settings, but I know I was in OBS for something else earlier this week.
We're
So,
we're
hope.
previewing or we're putting out a new template today. This is like the test stream, so if the chat's a little blurry or if anything else is an issue, we'll get on that next week.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm glad people like the template. Thanks. It was actually the soda machine on the right there was made by my girlfriend Taylor, so she's the one who gets the credit for that. And then Pi did the animation of the soda coming out of the dispenser.
Yep. We are no
Yep.
longer
And
drowning.
then nope, we
But now
aren't.
we have the power to drown.
Now we are.
So we
Now we are
we are the
leaking.
don't say it like that. Oh my gosh. We are no longer the drowned. We are the drowners. The people who drown. Is there a word for people who drown people? That's dark. Never mind.
They would be drowned, wouldn't they? They would be the drowned. But the people
People
doing the
doing the
drowning, I guess, would be the. I don't know. They would be the drowners, I guess, wouldn't they?
That's a downer. So
Oh.
yep. And of course, yeah, this is the first first pass on it, so we might institute some tweaks and stuff.
Yep. But we got a nifty little chat up in the left. We got the box in the bottom left that kind of shows it'll be featuring what we're discussing about each week. So this week it'll be glitch text, and then whatever we do next week. And then we got the soda machine, because hey, got to stay in theme with that.
Yeah.
I hope these cups don't overflow. Oh, they're bottomless. Don't
As
worry.
of right now, they
It's
are.
actually just going
There's
straight through the cup, just spilling all over the floor.
there's plans in the works. I've got some thoughts. This is what I whipped up currently, but there's definitely some thoughts to add to this.
Mm-hmm.
At any rate, hey guys, Pie Guy Rules here, and welcome to Stream Soda. Shadow's here.
Oh, yeah, I'm here too. How's it going?
It's going good. Yeah, so welcome to Stream Soda. This week we're going to be talking about the first season of Glitch Techs. I know season 2 is coming very soon, and we will very likely revisit this as long as Shadow doesn't have a burning hatred for the show, which we'll see. Uh, if you weren't around for the pre-show, just so you know, this is our new template here. It's brand new. We're still working out some glitches with it. So, if there's anything that needs tweaking, we'll get on that and fix it next week. Yeah, how's everyone doing?
Yeah. I know I'm doing pretty good. It was a mixed week, but the ups were definitely ups, I'll say that. So I'm actually excited to do this stream because we unfortunately missed last week due to other real life circumstances, but it's good to be back and be doing another discussion. So I'm excited.
Yeah. I had a pretty terrible week, both in real life and online, but I'm back, baby. I'm ready. I'm ready to talk about cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
So we have actually some big announcements to talk about today about the format of the show. It's not just that the visuals are changing, but we're actually going to change the format a little bit. So ordinarily, as you guys know, we would do like a few minutes pre-show, do a little intro, then we talk about something we streamed in the past week. We talk about news, and then we get into the feature topic and Q&A. Honestly, it's a lot. I don't know that we need to have a show that has so many elements in it, especially when we don't always have something to say about the news, and especially when a lot of the Q&A, a lot of the same questions get asked, or we don't have great answers, or whatever. So we are going to be changing the way the show works. Before we are still setting the show to start at 4 p.m., and that will be our official start time. However, for about 15 minutes before that, we will go live and we will answer your questions. So Q&A is now being moved to about 3:45 p.m. EST, presuming neither of us are running late or anything.
Yeah.
It's not a hard time. Sometimes we might start a little bit before that. Sometimes we might start a little bit after that. But that's when the pre-show is going to start, and that's when you can ask any question you want. That's when we'll just Q&A, same as it's always been. Ask about cartoons, ask about soda flavors, ask about whatever you want, and we'll try our best to answer the questions for about 15 minutes. Shortening it will help reduce the amount of repeat questions. And it'll kind of help us not get burned out just answering questions over and over again every week. For a very long time. But yeah, so that's the plan. And then at 4:00, we will officially go live and start the show. And at 4, we will start. We'll do a brief intro, and then we'll start talking about the featured show. So you don't have to wait. You don't have to wonder like when are they going to start talking about the main featured topic. We're just going to do it right away at 4:00. And then that'll be the show. We don't really need anything else. If there's anything major news wise, or anything major we want to talk about, certainly we'll squeeze it in there, either before or after the featured discussion. But the main format of the show is just going to be pre-show Q&A, then featured show. So, yeah.
Yep. I think this streamlines things a little bit, and it also helps because there's no inconsistencies with like some weeks having 5 or 6 different news points and then another week having like one.
Right.
I don't know. I just think this streamlines it a bit more, and it also allows us to just hop right into it. So yeah, I think this will be for the better. And we will still be doing a Q&A today after the discussion, just because we didn't want to just spring it on everyone. So today will be the last regular Q&A session, and then starting next week, as Pi said, it'll be at 3:45.
Right.
So just wanted to note that.
Yep. And of course, Shadow has a server, or I guess we have a section on Shadow's server. If you want to ask questions, link in the description to the Discord server. We'll probably prioritize those questions because those tend to be a little more in depth, and we love answering questions. It's just don't want to answer the same questions over and over again, and we don't want to answer questions that we don't have like a great answer to. Again, a lot of times it's not like we intentionally ignore questions. It's just sometimes the answer is we haven't seen the show, and that's a lame, boring answer.
Yeah.
So yes. As for the super chats, feel free to put them in whenever you want if you feel like super chatting. We'll get to them as soon as we're done with whatever current thought that we're on, I think is the plan.
Well, Pi, you've got some explaining to do because it appears Jacob Zerger has found some pie crust in his soda.
Look,
what do you have to say about that?
When you go for pie flavored soda, there are certain expectations. And moist pie crust. Think of it. It's like you're eating what are those things called? The crumble cakes. I don't remember what they're.
Now I'm just thinking that Kids Next Door episode.
That's what I'm thinking of too, and I don't remember the name of those actual pastries. Anyway, enjoy.
I think it was.
Enjoy your eye crusts. Oh, excuse me, pie crust. Yes. Okay, so and of course, as always, this stream will be uploaded at some point within the next week on the Stream Soda channel, where there is a link down in the description. First link. Click on that if you want to see it. So. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, I guess we can just go ahead and jump right into it.
All right. So Glitch Techs is a relatively obscure show that no one on the internet has talked about before. I don't know why you guys didn't recommend this sooner, because this was a great candidate for Stream Soda. Of course, that's not true. We had a lot of requests for this. It is kind of an obscure show, and it's kind of not. Like, people who are into animation and who follow like Nickelodeon news and stuff, I'd say very much knew about this and very much promoted this and loved it and shared it around. But I would say mainstream wise, it is still relatively obscure. And it's weird. Like if especially if you follow Nickelodeon news, this show is built up for like 2 years. There was all sorts of rumors about it being canceled before it even premiered and all this other stuff, which turned out to not be true because there's a season 2 coming. Unless maybe they split one season into 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's always
and canceled
possible.
It anyway. It's hard to know. I wouldn't say the show ends in a particularly season finale-ish way, or the season ends, but at any rate, yep, that's a good point, Toon J. It was not on Netflix's top 10 for 10. Or top 10. Like, Netflix has the top 10, and Avatar has definitely been beating this show. And yeah, I haven't really seen it be featured to be honest, and it's a shame because it is definitely an interesting show, whether you like it or not. But yeah, I feel like it's weird production, and it's weird. Like first it was supposed to be on Nickelodeon, then it's on Netflix, and all that stuff kind of messed with a lot of the promotion. You know, it's not a show that could just be like promoted and then there. There was also, I know, some issues with flashing lights when the show first came out, which is not super amazingly great. But they have fixed that, to my knowledge. To what I've seen, there was no intense flashing lights, and they've also put up a warning. So, yeah. But anyway, Glitch Text is a show about these two characters, Five and Miko, who basically become members of like the Men in Black, but for video games, where there's all these game glitches that they have to hunt down and wipe people's memories, so that they can't remember it. And they're a video game glitch hunting organization.
You literally stole my comparison.
Yeah.
This is Men in Black for video
Well, it's
games.
Men in Black meets Scott Pilgrim, basically.
Yeah.
Maybe like a little bit of Danny Phantom in there. I'm not sure. So, yeah.
So, right off the bat, I just want to say, I'm surprised this is a Nickelodeon show.
Why? Because it's good.
Because this... Yeah, I mean, not just that, but like considering.
Well, they have Rise of the TMNT, which is very.
If the shoe fits.
Rise of the TMNT is very similar.
That's true.
I'm not surprised they punted this to Netflix, because it definitely feels more Netflixy.
Yeah, it does.
Like I feel like this show fits along with other shows we've seen, like Kipo. Like I feel like animation style and storytelling. I mean, this one is not. I wouldn't say it's like story arc heavy, but there's definitely continuity elements that carry over. I was definitely happy to watch this show in marathon form versus waiting weeks for it. Personally,
yeah, I really enjoyed this. So no, I don't absolutely hate it.
That's good.
It's interesting because the show like so. The thing about Glitch Text is it's very much ingrained in gamer culture, and it definitely lives up to that. And one thing that's kind of like always a little off-putting as a pro gamer myself, when I see a bunch of like references to gaming and like that culture in other media, a lot of the times it comes off like insincere,
an outsider.
Like it's coming an outsider who doesn't really understand it. Like Ready Player One, for example, like that movie has a lot of like, oh hey, look, when they blow up, they turn into money. That's video gamey, and you know, just not that trope can't be there, but just the way Ready Player One handles it, it doesn't feel like it actually understands gaming culture.
I don't know whether Ready Player One understands it or not, but they definitely water it down to be understandable by any audience. I think would be the bigger problem with that, is that whenever you do have a show or a movie that references things in a subculture, your options are either you heavily water it down so that it's like, you know, Italian plumber jokes, and, you know, when I step on an enemy, it drops a coin, like generic things that anyone knows about video games, or you decide to just say, screw it, and the people who don't care about video games probably weren't going to watch the show anyway. And Glitch Text definitely just says, screw it, and just completely throws it at. I do know that people like Ashley Birch and Felicia Day, who have worked on other video game parody based shows, are involved with this show. I saw Ashley Birch was a writer. So there's definitely like, I guess, gamer cred, if you want to call it, entrenched in the show. And it's impossible to talk about the show without talking about the references. And it definitely, to me, watching that first episode, or I guess 2 episodes, as I think it was supposed to be, it very much felt at first like, oh, they're using like, her house is, you know, 1337 Elite Gamer, like at first it's just like, oh god, but then very quickly it's like they throw so much gamer lingo in there that it just kind of becomes its own thing. Like it's so overwhelmingly like gamer culture that it stops being cringy, and it's just kind of like, oh, okay, like, yeah, everyone just talks like that in this show. Why not? You know?
Yeah. Like it feels sincere in the sense that it actually gets it, and it's going so deep into it that it's like, okay, yes, this understands video games, and I appreciate that, because it was like, especially just knowing the premise, I was like, I don't know, this doesn't seem like the most promising thing, but I was pleasantly surprised. I was really satisfied. Like, oh my gosh. Okay. I'm just gonna go right and say the Castlevania episode is
Oh
my
yeah, that's
favorite
the
one.
best one.
I love that
Dude, I don't
episode.
care
That was
anything
it
about
was
Castlevania.
insane.
Like I've never played a
Hmm.
Castlevania. I don't care about Castlevania. I only know surface level Castlevania references. But that episode was
Hmm.
just awesome. Like,
Yeah, it was phenomenal, and it's like, it, as someone who is familiar with the franchises, like they got so many like things right that it's like, oh yeah, that's totally from the game. Like there's a reference where Miko tells Five, like, you don't have to break every torch, and that's what a lot of Castlevania players do, is they'll always go and break stuff to get all the items they can, because that game, especially the earlier ones that are archaic, you really need to get as many resources as possible. It's just little things like that. And then, like, oh dude, not Dracula, fantastic. I
shoot the
loved
guy with the
him.
fabulous
I
hair.
Yeah. And then, like, they even got the whole detail where, like, when they got to the point where Miko's like, yeah, I turned the game off. The whole thing with flipping the castle upside down, that's straight out of Castlevania. That's exactly what you do in the game. So, like, I don't know. I was just like, yeah, this is awesome. I love this episode. And the other ones are good too, don't get me wrong, but that was like a standout for me. I love that.
Like, I feel like the show does a really good job at mixing episodes that are just like straight up video game parody episodes and then episodes that aren't.
Hmm.
It's not like every episode is like they're in a new video game world. It's not Captain N. Like it's
Yeah.
sometimes the references are very, very, very deliberate. I mean, not deliberate, but very, very, very in depth, and like the whole episode is a reference. And then sometimes it's just like vague things, like the pet is supposed to be a chocobo. Like it's
Hmm.
chocobo-esque, but it's not like here's a chocobo but colored red. Like it's got similarities, but then there's differences too. Um, and that's the thing too. I feel like the show does not rely on video game references to be interesting. I feel like
Yeah.
games and references are kind of a backdrop to otherwise good, solid storytelling in most of the episodes.
Hmm. Yeah. It's kind of like the extra pizzazz, and it's the accents to the core storytelling.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because some episodes, like you said, are deeply ingrained, and then there's other episodes where it kind of like makes up its own
Yeah,
stuff to kind of like compensate. And I like that. I like that it's like, you see a Metal Gear Solid reference in one of the episodes for like 30 seconds, but it's not like the whole thing's just Metal Gear
because
or
because the
anything.
thing is, ultimately we have an internet that is so full of just like dorkly videos of like low hanging fruit jokes about video games. Like, wow, isn't it messed up that Mario jumps on turtles? Although I guess that joke is also in episode.
Yeah.
Although that one
Yep.
is pretty funny and interesting.
It is.
No, but it's like it's not just the most low hanging gaming fruit. Like there's not a ton of shows like this on TV necessarily or Netflix, but there is a lot of shows like this on the internet, or at least like
Hmm.
video game parody shows. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of them. Um, so I feel like to make something like this work, they have to have like a backbone of just good storytelling, good animation, and there has to be more to it than just video game references. And there's a lot of things in here that isn't. It's more than that. Like I know the creator recently soft confirmed that Miko has ADHD. And I definitely got that, or at least that
Hmm.
she exhibits traits that are also things that people with ADHD would exhibit. And that's cool. I think
Yeah.
um there's also a really diverse backdrop in there, which is very important when it comes to gaming, because there are definitely people that would love gaming to just be, fat, sweaty white dudes. So it's
Yeah.
great to have a show that's just like, no, it's just everyone's a gamer. That's fine.
Yeah.
Uh, um,
Yeah, and it's
and the
cool.
characters are great. I love the two mains. They're perfect.
Hmm.
Like they're interesting characters, and they don't feel too generic, or they don't feel like they're like, I don't know, too much just like generic gamer character.
Right. Yeah, one thing I appreciate is how like gaming is just, a regular thing that everybody's doing in the show. Like it's not like the only real anti-gamer characters are like Miko's
Yeah.
parents, which is an interesting dynamic
You
because
mean
I'm sure
you mean Doug?
yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. But yeah, that creates a dynamic that I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. I know I can relate to it because the generation above me just doesn't really get it, and it's kind of this new thing that us millennials and Zoomers are more ingrained with. And I think that provides an interesting spin on like Miko's struggle and why she's doing what she's doing. Um, yeah.
Huh. According to Byleth, the dynamic was originally going to be different, with Five being a stick in the mud and Miko being cynical. Eventually, Five became a sweet dork, and Miko became nicer and more spunky. Um,
Hmm.
Interesting.
I think it's probably better that way.
Yeah. I mean, character dynamics, when you have a duo, it's like it's very easy to fall into tropes of like one is a fun-loving, goofball, and then the other one is a no-nonsense straight man.
Pinky in the brain.
Right. I mean
Yeah.
that pairing comes up a lot because it works. It's a pairing that works, but I
Hmm.
wouldn't necessarily say that fits Miko and Five. Sometimes it does. Sometimes the tutorial episode, that one definitely was like a she he's fine with doing things by the book, and she doesn't want to. She just wants to go have fun.
Hmm.
Something, this is random. There's not another place to talk about this, but on the billboard at the place where they work, they show the billboard a
Hmm.
few times. One of the places is the Groovy Smoothie, and I don't know if it's an intentional iCarly reference or that's just a weird coincidental thing. But that's the name of the smoothie
I
joint in
didn't notice
iCarly,
that.
yeah. Because
Huh.
iCarly has
That's
everything to
really
do with
cool.
video games.
Right. Yeah.
uh,
That's interesting though. Um, hmm.
um,
I'll have to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's any elements of the show in general that I disliked, but I will say that there were a few episodes that I just didn't think hit very strongly. Um, Especially the one where Five is the leader. That
Yeah.
episode really, really, really hits you over the head with what's going on in it. It's not basically the story is that Five is going to be the leader of Miko and then these two other characters when they go out on this mission where they have to defeat the co-op bosses, which makes me think of the ending of Nicktoons Unite, where you get to fight all four of them in like a weird merry-go-round thing. Anyway, but basically, he's supposed to be the leader, and Mitch, who's like the antagonistic glitch tech, gets in his head and is like, you got to lead by being bossy, and you got to be cocky, and you can't listen to other people, and all this stuff. And like Five just immediately takes to that for no real reason. He should know that Mitch is a jerk and an idiot, but he doesn't. And then like throughout the entire episode, one of the characters is like, hey, I have information to help you defeat the bosses, and Five is just like, no.
He just cuts him
Like it
off.
happens
Yeah.
so many times that it's so obvious that he's gonna tell at the end of this episode. He's gonna tell what we're supposed to be doing, and wow, it like you knew the whole time. Like there are ways to do this. Hero becomes a jerk story, but this one really, really hits you over the head with it. And I didn't find
Hmm.
I don't know, like the villains to be particularly interesting or anything.
Yeah, that's the thing because I felt like this episode, like the concept of the episode with like gaining the territories, King of the Hill,
Yeah,
that sort of thing. That concept has a lot of potential for a great story, and I just wasn't sold on Five like actually willfully believing Mitch because like yes, I get that they look up to Mitch as like the number one gamer and but they've had enough experience with him at that point to know that like he's really a jerk and he's not all that, and he does things for himself and nobody else. I don't really see Five just willingly being like, okay, yeah, I'll do what Mitch says because I don't know, I just
give
wasn't
more of a
I wasn't
justification,
convinced.
right? Like if he tried
Exactly.
to lead in like a his normal way and then got
And it
you're right.
failed.
He got bossed. Miko just kind of walked all over him and didn't listen to him. And then he started acting like a jerk. I think that would make a little more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because he'd be defensive at that point. I don't know, it just didn't feel bright.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's apparently obvious that the how the solution's gonna
Right.
go.
I also wasn't a particular fan of the last episode. In
Neither was
season
I.
one.
That was the one I was gonna mention.
Yeah. Miko's got a little sister who's into karate, and she blackmails Miko into using glitch technology to make her better at karate, or to train her to be better in karate. But then, oh no, technological karate belt escapes from the lab, and then Miko's sister beats up the villain. Like, I don't know. Miko's sister is not particularly interesting or sympathetic. Her story of wanting to do karate but not really being good at it. Like, I think that's a good message of you don't have to be good at your hobby. All that's important with your hobby is that you're interested in it. You don't have to be the best to still have an interest in it. But otherwise, that message is kind of bogged down with just like not anything interesting happening. Like a lot of it is just kind of like they fight fighting game characters or fake fighting game characters, even though they've already done that in like the second episode. That was the whole thing with the Hulk Hogan snot monster, or trash monster. So, I mean, the animation was good. Like, I'm not saying it was like awful, but just in terms of getting me invested in the actual story itself. I think that one thing to look out for in a show like this is you don't want every episode to just be, video game reference, and then, a glitch appears that's a reference to a video game, and then they beat it, and that's it. That's kind of like the core of the show, but each episode has to have more interesting things than that happening, and a lot of them do that. Like when Casino shows up, Five's old friend, and the glitch possesses him, and then it's like his feelings of being abandoned by Five mix with the glitch's evil intent to form a bad guy that's like fighting them emotionally as well as physically. That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought another episode that kind of did that well was the pet episode, where Miko and Five go into the veterinarian's simulation, and they kind of learn the importance of the relationship and companionship, because it uses the gaming world as like the coat of paint and the premise. And then, you see Miko and I forget what the bird's name is.
Allie.
Allie. You see them kind of go with their whole thing, and Miko neglecting Allie's, hunger, which, it's important to feed your pets. And then, Five doesn't really get that whole relationship. And then he like meets the Alpha, and they kind of bond over their teamwork and working together. And, it's a very heartwarming story, and it pays off in the end. And it's just, that's another great episode that really stood out.
Is that a reference to Chrono Trigger, by the way, Alpha?
It might be.
There's a robot in that game.
It might be. I'm not really familiar with Chrono Trigger that much, so. But.
And yes, Felicia Day is the scientist. Allie reminds me of Kazooie from Banjo-Kazooie. I could definitely see it. Yeah, and I mean, they definitely... The thing is with like the character designs and stuff, they definitely try to make it interesting. It's not like the turtle enemies they run into aren't just like, orange Koopa Troopas. They're like turtles with gems sticking out of it. Like they try, they're clearly references, but it's not just we're going to be as lazy as possible. And it's not like the joke is like, haha, I know that from Mario. It's more of like a background element.
This is going to be a really obscure thing, but it's just something I wanted to point out when you mentioned voice acting. The voice of Inspector Seven from the second episode is Betsy Sidaro.
It's going to be a Sonic thing.
She also voices Eddie from the episode In the Garden of Good and Eddie from the PUBG reboot. She does the same exact voice for both characters. Like, as soon as I know it's PPG, take a shot, but as soon as I heard Inspector Seven walk in and start talking, oh my gosh, that's Eddie from the reboot. Oh dear. So, and she also did a few other characters in some other PPG episodes. So I don't know. That's just something that stuck out to me. But okay,
yeah,
I just had to put that
Thanks,
out there.
I'm glad that they didn't just cast a bunch of like Twitch streamers to play the characters. Like, God,
Ninja.
No, don't even. I hear he's trying to break into Hollywood.
Oh, so we are having a news section.
Stop it. Yeah,
Just kidding.
yeah. I mean, hey, I'm cool if they do cameos in the future. There probably is some somewhere in this show. Wouldn't be surprised. But
Mhm.
again, it's like they cast actors because actors are gonna play better characters than just random dude who, might get them more attention because like OMG, they cast PewDiePie as the villain in the show. Like, no, like it's they're not. I don't know. I feel like the show very easily could have fallen into a lot of really cheap tactics to just like gain viewership while losing out on integrity and immersion and actual good acting. But they didn't. I feel like they set out to create a good cartoon first and foremost, and then all of the video game stuff is painting around that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad it kind of holds off on that. And I'm glad that it also kind of holds off a little bit more on like the internet meme side of things. Like it's more focused on the actual games and the art, not the internet inside jokes, which is a huge relief. Although I'm sure there's probably like a Twitch related thing coming up in a future episode. It's bound to happen. So
Also, according to what
it's just a matter
according to
of
what
time.
people are saying in the comments or in the chat, it is season 1 has been broken up into 2 parts, and that's what season 2 is. But
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
but the fact that they did that at all shows that they're willing to give the show a shot. I mean, because otherwise they would have just dropped all the episodes at once and then forgotten about the show. So I mean, I don't know if there's any future for this, but
Yeah, it's unfortunate because of like the whole production and release struggle it went through at the beginning. That I don't know if I don't know if anything's
and
gonna
I don't
happen.
understand why. I mean, there's nothing about this show that I feel is like this could be on Nickelodeon. I know Nickelodeon doesn't have the best track record with like action shows, but currently they do have Rise of the TMNT, which is in a similar vein action wise. I feel like the show could fit alongside that. I mean, I think Netflix is a good home for it, but I don't understand why this show was like dropped into limbo only to be rescued, unless maybe it was a bargaining chip with Netflix.
I don't know, cause like I remember this something like back in 2019 there was this huge thing on Twitter with like a bunch of people being laid
Yeah.
off from the show like halfway through production. Nobody knew, and I don't think anything's ever come out about like why that happened.
I'm not sure.
I don't know if it was a bargaining chip or if it was Nick's, administration change had anything to do with that.
Right.
Because that also had occurred recently.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
not
it's
sure.
hard to say, but knowing how long like the Invader Zim TV movie and the Rocco TV movie got delayed releases, I wouldn't be surprised if Nickelodeon or Viacom or whoever was trying to work out a deal with Netflix, and as a part of that deal, maybe they were trying to sweeten the pot by providing better episodes or better shows, and they didn't realize that it would take so long negotiation wise. I don't really know. I mean, but it's a good show, and it's sad because I don't want to see it just die after probably 20 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. This is kind of in the same boat with Kipo for me. I mean, not in terms of what they're about, but just how I feel about them. Like, I want to see more, and I hope that they don't end after a second season. Like, I'd hope it gets season 3, 4.
Yeah.
Keep it
I
going.
mean,
There's some momentum that can be built
from
here.
what I've seen, it's like there is interest in continuing the show by the people that made it. But I mean, there's a lot of factors, not the least of which is just like, people may have moved on job wise. Like people got to work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, no, I understand why Netflix would want this show on there. I mean, I think it does fit with some of the other stuff they got going on. But I don't understand why the delay, especially because the Netflix deal was made. I mean, the Rocco and the Zim stuff came out, that came out well before Glitch Text did. So, but I mean, hey, if anyone's going to save a show like this, it would be Netflix anyway. So like, I'm not gonna mourn the show quite yet because it's not looking great for it, but I wouldn't say it's over.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe they could pull a Tuca and Birdie and put it
Adult
somewhere else and
Swim.
maybe get it. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Where all Netflix canceled shows go.
It'll be saved by Quibi.
Okay, don't kid yourself.
But it'll be chopped up into 3-minute chunks.
Oh yeah, and it's only able to be watched on your phone.
um,
Oh my
I mean,
god.
CBS.
Yeah, CBS All Access.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep. I guess since it is related, like, how do you feel about this whole Nickelodeon Netflix thing? Like, obviously, it doesn't change anything about the actual show, but
Hmm.
it definitely is weird because I don't really want to count it as a Nick show, even though, of course, Nickelodeon produced it. Um, I guess it kind of gets into the debate of what is a show on a network, right? Is it the network that paid for it and had creative input into it, or was it the network that just puts it out there, and claims responsibility for it or whatever?
So, do you remember when the Netflix Nickelodeon deal was made by chance? Do you happen to
I
remember
know we
when they
talked about it
come
on
to
the
that
recast in
agreement?
like 80 episodes, and we only did 69 episodes, so
Okay.
I don't know how that happened.
Because I know that like Viacom and CBS had merged last summer, like a year
Yeah.
ago. And if that deal was made before, then I could understand maybe why this sudden change is happening now. Because it's like, okay, well, now that we've got CBS and Viacom in one pot, it's better to just put all the Nickelodeon stuff there. But if the deal is made after, then I have no idea
Yeah,
why that would
I don't
be.
know. I mean, we don't have any answers. It's just speculation.
Yeah.
Um, but
But hey, I don't know. Maybe this stuff will get moved over to CBS All Access at some point. Because I mean, we know SpongeBob stuff is getting put there, and Avatar's going to be there. So
right.
it's only a matter of time. I'm sure CBS All Access might become something more. We'll have to wait and
I mean,
see.
it's definitely like going on Netflix is a lot better than had it been like pushed to Nicktoons, or aired at 6
Hmm.
in the morning because Nickelodeon doesn't want the show, but has to burn out the contract or whatever. Um, yeah, that's a good point, Philip. It is similar to like Infinity Train in that it definitely was a Cartoon Network show. Like it's not like a show that was announced and then came out on HBO Max. No, it had 2 seasons on Cartoon Network. But now is just being branded as an HBO Max original to the point where it's not even in the Cartoon Network section on HBO Max. And
Hmm.
it's like, I mean, ultimately it doesn't matter. It's just a dumb nerdy debate. But I don't know. I mean, it is weird. It's definitely weird.
Yeah, it's just something to speculate.
Was there anything you didn't like about the show?
So this is something that I've actually noticed a lot of people mentioning in the comments, which is Mitch as a
Hmm.
character. He's your standard jerk face, and I mean, I don't know. I feel like his character could have some more nuance to it, which maybe we'll see in the
Mm.
second half of episodes that are coming. But like there's moments where like it feels like there could be more to him and why he is the way he is with his whole like competitive, selfish nature. But then it just kind of like quickly just subsides and the episode moves past it, or he does something and leaves or whatever. Because a lot of his appearances is just like Miko and Five stop someone, and then Mitch is like, "Ha, thanks," and he steals their, he kill steals
Yeah.
and then
I
leaves.
mean, Mitch
Um,
in the first episode or 2 episodes, however you want to classify it, um, definitely felt like a more interesting character who I got the vibe from him, and maybe it's incorrect, but I got the vibe that he was going to be an antagonist that either has a redemption arc or the
mhm,
opposite and becomes a villain by the end of the show.
mhm,
But seeing the rest of the episodes, it does kind of make me think that, oh, he's just going to be like kind of a one note jerk. Like, I liked him a lot more in the pilot where he's a lot more malicious rather than just kind of like, oh, I'm just going to kill Steel. I mean, that's what a few of his appearances basically amount to. But
yeah.
then also in the first episode, you see him begging for mercy and saying that gaming is all he has. So I think with enough time on the show, he will get developed. It's just a question of in this first season slash 2 seasons, is that the game plan? Another oddity is, and I don't really like this personally. In the second episode, they give us this like someone from corporate comes in, and at the end of the episode, they're like, Miko could be the chosen one, and she could help us
Mhm.
with the big one, or like whatever teasing thing they said. I don't mind that teasing. What I don't like is the fact that nowhere in the next 8 episodes is that, or I guess next 7 episodes is that even hinted at. Like,
nothing. It's never brought up.
I don't
again.
mind if you're going to tease something in a few episodes building up to like the big thing. That's fine, but don't give me this like, I don't know, like this hook of like there's a bigger story at work here, and then it completely ignore it for untold amount of episodes. I'm sure they'll address it. I think they will. It's not like I think that they've abandoned that. I just don't think it's good storytelling because it's like a hook for something that I don't know. It just has no relevance in a bunch of episodes upcoming, unless we missed something.
If the gap goes on too long, people are either going to forget about it or stop caring, and then when it's brought up, it's like, oh yeah, that was a thing that happened. I remember. I don't know. I'm not saying we needed the answer right away. But,
yeah.
Just another tie-in here or there, just something, because it feels like the show definitely has a plan.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's going to be able to execute that plan because of production troubles is another story. But, hopefully at least the next wave that's coming up soon is able to tie some of those things together.
One thing, something I almost forgot to mention. The second episode, or at least the second listed episode on Netflix, has horrible audio balancing issues to the point where the dialogue is much quieter than the sound effects and the music. I don't know if you noticed this, but it like at the beginning of the episode, the characters are basically recanting what happened in the first one. But like it's their dialogue is just completely drowned out by the music. And it's a simple audio mix thing. I don't know how it got past QA, people that watch the episode to see if there's any major issues. It sucked because I had to have the episode abnormally loud, which to just hear what the characters are saying, but then it made the music just completely blast. That I'm glad that it wasn't in the rest of the episodes, but like, dude, seriously, if you fix the flashing lights, just go in, do a real quick audio mix, turn up the dialogue, and be done. Like, but that's, yeah, I mean,
so I don't know I don't know if it's my TV or what, but something weird that's been happening lately, and it was doing this when we did Kipo, and I think Pokemon Journey is when we did that too. For some reason, whenever I watch something on my TV on Netflix, the captions are automatically on. So, and for whatever reason, I don't always notice it immediately. I'm just like subconsciously watching and I realize, oh, the captions are on. I think that's why I didn't notice the audio issue, because I was just reading the captions. And so I just subconsciously like didn't pay attention to that part. But I'm sure if I went back, I would notice that, because I trust that was there. But yeah, the flashing lights definitely were fixed.
Yeah, so I didn't see anything even close to.
I didn't. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, fingers crossed the show does well. I think there's a real good backbone of a show here, and this is definitely the kind of show that if it were to be given 2 or 3 seasons, I'm sure it would be really killer by the end, So
yeah, it's got a good concept. I like most of the characters.
Yeah.
It's not over the top.
Right.
But
and I like the little developments that happen, getting Allie and then training Allie, and like there's little things that kind of amount to something, and I do feel like the second half will probably be more storyline heavy. Like I wouldn't be surprised. So Glitch Tech 6 seasons in a movie. I'd be happy with like another season or 2.
Yeah, I'd be fine with like 3, 4, and that's
yeah. I don't know that the show necessarily needs like 10 seasons or anything, but yeah, I mean it's a good show. I'd be curious to see how people that don't watch video games feel about it. But ultimately, I don't think the show needs to work with that audience. I think that it's a show, quote, for gamers. As cringy as that makes me feel saying that, but it's a show to appeal to people who play video games, whether they play phone games or whatever. Anyone that cares about video games in any way. No gatekeeping. Anyone who's interested in it, I should say. And I think that's why it ultimately was put on Netflix, because Netflix is a lot of more niche content, because the more generic stuff gets funds all the other stuff. Like, you know, Nickelodeon doesn't necessarily want to put a show that's only going to appeal to a small amount of people. Not that this is a small amount of people, but not going to appeal to every human on the planet. They don't necessarily want to put that kind of show forward when they can put SpongeBob, which will appeal to every kind of person on the planet. But with Netflix, there's no such thing as stealing airtime. You know, it's just what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also the one episode that
I just wanted to agree real quick
ahead.
with CDCB2 that I agree. A lot of story-driven shows do tend to focus like the first half of the season on establishing the world, establishing the characters, maybe hinting at a bigger story, and then in like the second half of the first season or the second season or however you split it, tends to be more story-focused. Like the first few episodes of Kipo definitely feel more episodic than the show kind of goes on to be.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a trend we've seen in a lot of shows in recent times. So, you know, it's to be expected. It's par for the course. But I wanted to say that the other episode that kind of stuck out to me was the not Candy Crush one, because that one was interesting because it gave like it was another aspect of gaming culture that kind of gets overshadowed a lot, is mobile gaming, because you know a lot of us true elite gamers don't really delve into that side of things, but that is a huge market, and a lot of people play phone games, and a lot of people who may not necessarily get the Castlevania reference will certainly understand Candy Crush. So you know, I like that it was willing to, you know, expand outside just the classic, you know, titles and go there. I mean, who knows? Maybe there'll be a VR episode coming up or something. You know, there's a lot of potential in a lot of different areas it could go to. So,
all right, real question though: is that stupid rabbit supposed to be a Sonic reference?
I think
the characters hate him, so I'm happy with it. It's like, I don't know, his name's like Zooms McSpeed or something. It's like,
I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be a Sonic reference because he's like totally.
Although Sonic doesn't say his name a lot, I will say that. If there's one thing about Sonic that I can appreciate is that he doesn't say his name all the time.
Yeah, he says it sometimes.
It's Sonic time.
Yeah, he doesn't
time to go Sonic speed. Let's take this supersonic.
Actually, he does.
Yeah,
say,
no, he does. Never mind.
Let's blast through with Sonic speed and Sonic
I take it
Heroes.
back. He makes a lot of puns about his stupid name, so I take it back. Zoom
Yeah,
Kazoom, excuse me. Oh gosh.
My name's Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh yeah.
Okay.
This is happening.
All right. But yeah, no, I absolutely recommend Glitch Techs. I think that if you're even like tangentially interested in video games, I think you'll enjoy this. I don't think that you need to know everything about Castlevania to find that Castlevania episode a lot of fun, because it is a lot of fun. I think the base story of it, and I think the whole idea of, you know, Miko is she's talented at gaming, but she doesn't necessarily have patience or I don't know. She just very much seems like a kind of like perfectionist with it. Whereas Five is not necessarily amazing at the game, but the fact that he is not an expert in the game makes him more open-minded to figuring his stuff out. So I thought that they just made a good team as characters in that episode, even if you don't understand all of the references and everything.
Yeah, and it's another thing I appreciate about that episode is that like both of them are shown to lie, in the sense that you know, Five is like, oh yeah, I know what to do, and then when they get to that mini boss room, he has no idea how to beat it, and then he, you know, Miko just pulls him through the spike wall, and it's like, oh yeah, all right, I was wrong. And then like when they get to the end and the room goes dark, you know, Five is like, okay, so what happens? We won, right? And Miko's like, well, I mean, technically, no, I just kind of turned the game off. I don't know what to do. I got stuck here. And it's, you know, it's cool because it shows, you know, they're both willing to lie to each other and make themselves seem better. And then it's like, oh, nope, caught you. And, you know, they're both chill with it. So, yeah, I like that aspect.
That was also the funniest episode, I think, too. Like,
it was
making fun of the way the statues are posed and cutting off the guy's hair.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
oh, dear.
Another small detail about that episode I loved is if you're paying attention when not Dracula is talking, if you see Miko in the background, she's literally mouthing the words of what he's saying. Like, yeah, there are some parts where she's like highlighted as saying it what he's saying at the same time. But even if you're looking in the background for certain shots where she's not talking, they animated her still mouthing his exact words and performing his actions. And I'm like, that is such a small detail that I love. It was brilliant. I love that episode.
I also think that episode is a good message about, like, gaming. Like, you don't have to be good at video games, right? Like, to be a gamer. You don't have to have beaten every game. Like, a gamer is someone who's interested in games. That's basically it. Don't gatekeep it. Don't keep people away. Like, it's sure, people who are super knowledgeable at games that you're super knowledgeable about, it's fun to have discussions with them, but don't exclude people for any reason. And the show doesn't beat you over the head with that message, but I think that is a part of the message of that episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also shows, again, how Five is able to come up with the solution in the dark room, that somebody else who may not know all of the, patterns and the solutions, will necessarily be able to figure everything out. So it's good to have multiple perspectives. And that's a lot of fun about a lot of games, is especially when a new game comes out and a bunch of different people are playing it and they all discover like different ways to do things or certain strategies. It's like, that's part of the whole culture.
There's no one way to play a game.
Exactly.
And it turns out that both of their play styles ended up working. Yeah, that episode's just the best.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. But yes, I see someone keeps mentioning it, but the one with the with his friend Casino and the possession glitch, that one's also pretty good. That's like, it's classic fantasy episode where you merge the emotional side with the physical threat so that people at home can empathize with the emotional struggle, but then also, like, have fun with the fantasy element of it. That's that's the format of many, many, many shows. And it works. That's how good fantasy works, is you include fun, fantastical, imaginative things, but you root it in real world emotions, real world lessons, and real things for the audience to take away.
Absolutely. I will say, now that this is out there, I pray that Nickelodeon makes more shows like this. Not, more gaming shows.
Game
but
Shakers
more shows
too.
like this. No, please.
Oh,
God. No, just more shows in this direction. That's what I hope, because this is the first Nickelodeon show I've cared about in probably 10 years. So, yeah, I really like it. It sold me. I can't wait for the second half of season 1/season 2.
No, everyone
highly
everyone who recommended this to us, thank you. I mean, I do feel like the fans have been really good advocates for the show when Netflix and Nickelodeon haven't necessarily. Yeah. Okay. All right, so that's Glitch Techs.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about Glitch Techs? Is there anyone out there that has any issues with it, or is there anything particularly you like that we didn't mention?
Yeah, I'm curious to hear.
When are we gonna review Glitch Techs? Probably like negative 51 minutes from now.
It's dope. I agree. It is pretty dope.
It also, it has a really strong showing in the first episode there. So, yeah. According to Dan Milano, one of the co-creators of Glitch Techs on Twitter, Glitch Techs is a Nicktoon. I mean, you could say that, but that doesn't. I mean, you can classify it as a Nicktoon, but I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, Nickelodeon can call whatever they want a Nicktoon, but if it doesn't air on the network, there's definitely, whether people want to consider it what or not is not in. Also, his name is High Five, not Five. Nope, his name is Five. His gamer tag is High Five, which he's used interchangeably in the show.
Yeah.
But thank you. Mitch being a one-note joke is your only problem with it. Yeah.
One-note jerk.
Oh,
hey,
sorry.
He's a joke too. So.
One-note joke jerk. Yeah. I I do feel like they need to come up with more creative ways to use him.
Hmm.
And I am hoping that it just builds to something. I'm hoping that it's just establishing repeatedly he's a jerk. He doesn't really care about helping people or doing anything other than um just gaining points basically.
Hmm.
I do kind of feel like the ending or the season 1 finale or whatever is going to kind of point out that like the game company is relatively evil, or at least has done some really sketchy things, like the fact that the glitches basically come from their games. That they also employ people to like wipe people's minds as a part of, quote, saving them. Um, and the fact that they employ people like Mitch who obviously abuse the power, and nothing is really done
Hmm.
about reprimanding him. Also, I think Mitch kind of shows off that any system that is about like rewards and just like the way that their XP structure is based, definitely sets up people to be unscrupulous. It might be
Yeah,
fun,
they are incentivized to
right?
be selfish and go about that. I will say, another thing in reference to Mitch is I hope his team shows up again. Whether that's they're doing their own thing and they go their separate ways from Mitch, or there's a new dynamic with Mitch now that the one episode that did take place has occurred. Because I do think that is one area where maybe Mitch's character could be explored with how his team no longer wants to follow
Mm,
him or do what he says. That could create some conflict, which could lead into some like character study with
right.
him.
Or
So
if he gets fired.
that's a
If
hope.
I
Or yeah,
mean,
I mean he could get fired too. That
ultimately, if
works.
he gets fired, since this is all he has, of course he's probably going to steal tech and do something, right? Like,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah. So that's my hope for the next season is that his team shows up again and something happens with
mhm.
them.
Philip says a big deal with the first episode is how Miko became immune to getting memory wiped, but that pretty much, as far as wiping minds, is really discussed as it being a gray area. Um, I mean, Miko doesn't want to wipe her sister's. Well, actually, I guess Miko doesn't want to wipe her sister's mind because that won't do anything because she's got backups. Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't really get into it. It might just be like one of those things where they do it because the reality of the show is important for that to happen, but they don't really want to get into the ethical dilemma of that. Like, um, uh,
Sorry. A car alarm just went off outside. I had to check and make sure it wasn't
you're
mine.
good.
It wasn't.
You're
So.
good. But yeah, okay. So that's I think that's about it for Glitch Text. Go watch it if you haven't.
Yeah. Gets a recommendation from me.
Yep.
So
And if you guys
do
want,
it.
we'll be back in a few weeks to talk about the second season.
Yep. Definitely.
Okay. All right. So from here we're gonna open up the floor and do a Q&A for a little bit. This is gonna be, remember, the last Q&A we do after the show. From here on out, if you want to ask us Q&A type questions about whatever, show up about 15 minutes before the show starts, and we'll be around to do that.
Yep. So 3:45 is about the time we'll be going live to do that. So just come here a little bit early, and we can answer your questions then. And we also still answer questions in the Discord too. So feel free to put them there if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to start with the Discord questions while they're typing theirs in chat?
Sure.
Okay. So a few questions we've gotten. We've gotten questions about our favorite and least favorite aspects of glitch text, but I think we already covered that. So what's okay? Here's a question. I don't know if Pi wants to relive this. What's the weirdest experience you guys had at a movie theater?
The recast episode about Toy Story 4, if you want to hear the full story, but the long and short of it is, me and my cousin went to go see the movie at night too, like not in the middle of the day, but at night, and directly behind us there was a couple and their child, and the child talked a bit during the movie, but the parents also talked pretty extensively to the kid, encouraging discussion and like basically acting like the whole thing was happening in their family room. Um, we weren't really mad at the kid, kid's gonna do what the kid's gonna do, but like, if your kid wants to have a conversation with you, maybe just like take him outside. We paid for the movie too. Toy Story 4 is a kid's movie, but basically they were talking all through it, already pretty bad. my cousin says something towards the end of the movie to the mom, not to the kid, but just, hey, can you be quiet? The movie's almost over. Something to that effect. And this was during that wonderful scene that Shadow and I don't like towards the end of Toy Story 4.
Yep.
But basically, the mom and the dad started cursing at us, using like the F-bomb and saying we're horrible people, and it's a little girl. Why are you bullying a little girl? What are you, like, we're here to see a kids movie. What are you doing here? Why don't you shut, like, the guy was like, in a wife beater tank top with juiced out muscle. Like, he was one of those people that was like looking for a fight, and he just spent the rest of the movie just like calling us names and acting like we've like punched his child in the face or something. Yeah, and I was afraid to leave my cousin alone because I didn't want anything to escalate. And the movie theater was pretty understaffed. So there really wasn't a lot we could do other than just try and deal with them. But yeah, that's a pretty awful experience. Although I've had plenty of other experiences recently where it's just people are on their phones their whole time, people talking the whole time, people making really stupid comments the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Shadow?
Yeah. So I've definitely had my share of like people being on their phones and talking and whatnot. But the worst experience for me, and maybe this is why I have a stronger dislike for this movie than I should, but when I went to see The Last Jedi in theaters back in 2017, I was with my parents and my sister because a tradition with my family is we've seen. I mean, I haven't seen the original trilogy, obviously, and some of the prequels I was too young for, but I've seen every Disney Star Wars movie in theaters with my family except for Solo. And we went to see The Last Jedi, and like the row in front of us we were getting ready to watch the movie. The movie was about to start. The previews had already played through, and about 5 minutes into the movie, this group of, I guess, 2 dads and maybe 7 or 8 kids just come in, and they just filled the entire row in front of us and over to the left even. And the entire movie, I kid you not, these children were up, running around the theater, screaming. They were throwing popcorn all over the place at one point. And these dads did nothing. They just sat and talked to each other during the whole movie. And plenty of people were getting super annoyed about this. And eventually one of the audience members went to go get a worker. They came in, they told the kids to sit down. So the dads let the kids sit down, and as soon as the worker left, the kids just got back up and started running around again. That was super annoying. And the worst part was when the light speed ship crash scene happened, and the whole thing went silent. You just hear all these kids like shouting and yelling, and completely ruined the moment. Completely ruined it. Yeah. And it was an utter mess. And then to make the cherry on top of the cake is that as soon as the movie ended, they just got up, left, and there was trash everywhere, and they did nothing to clean it up.
Wow.
I was like, wow, that was absolutely rude, and
yep.
I should have said something, but I didn't.
Yeah. No, people are generally inconsiderate in movie theaters, and it sucks.
Yeah. I will say my best movie theater experience is I saw Solo, and I'm just so happy I get to say that because I like that. An empty movie theater is like the best experience ever. I saw Logan and Solo both solo because I went to like a noon showing on my spring break while I was in college. It was great. It's fantastic. I wish I could always see movies like that, but yeah. So
okay. Yeah. So
good question.
Okay, so we have a super chat from Tim Whitfield, who's asked, any memories of watching Disney's One Saturday Morning, and did either of you play the backyard sports games?
I had backyard soccer.
I definitely played backyard baseball as a kid. Yeah. I'm a big Humongous Entertainment. Or I was a big Humongous Entertainment kid, definitely.
Yep.
And same. I don't know that I actually watched One Saturday Morning. I'm not really sure. I know I've seen a lot of the shows on One Saturday Morning, like Recess and Weekenders and stuff like that. But I don't really remember if I did watch specifically on Saturday morning.
Yeah, I don't believe I watched because most Saturday mornings I was watching Cartoon Network.
Yeah, I was a big Kids WB person.
Yeah, I was Kids WB and also Foxbox slash Four Kids.
Because that's where
I
Sonic
actually
was.
watched that. Yeah, and Kirby, and sometimes I think TMNT and Yugi over
Mm.
there.
Yeah, Saturday mornings used to be a real hot spot for kids entertainment.
That's true.
Which was weird because Friday nights were also a big hot spot. So you stay up late on Friday night watching Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, and then get up early on Saturday to watch Fox Box or Kids WB or even Cartoon Network
Yep.
sometimes had like Saturday morning like anime premieres or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we got another super chat from Thunderbeam707. Pie Guy, I know a lot of people don't like the show, and personally, I'm a fan of the show. But what are your thoughts on Mr. Meaty? I mean, like, look, it as an adult watching it, it is definitely so strange that it is entertaining. I don't know that I can say that
Yeah.
it's good, but it is entertainingly bizarre. Um, I
Yeah,
don't
it's
really think
weird.
that it ever belonged on Nickelodeon, personally. I think it's like not. I feel it's basically an Adult Swim show on Nickelodeon. That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like what it feels like. Um, but but yeah, as an adult, I find it entertaining. I haven't gone back and watched like a lot of it, but what Monsters is actually pretty into it. He showed us some clips one time, and it's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Shadow?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird. It's really strange, like that was ever a
hmm
thing. I have no desire to like go back into that. That's unexplored territory for me. It's gonna stay unexplored. I don't know. I don't know. I always thought the puppets looked really like disturbing.
Yeah.
Like I probably had some nightmares when I was younger about those puppets or something. But
It
it's
yeah. I mean, it's definitely the kind of show that works much better as like a and you're in a Discord call and you screen share and you're like, "Hey, want to watch something very strange from Nickelodeon?" Like
yeah.
it's definitely fun to do that sort of thing with it, but I don't know if I could genuinely say that it's good. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Thunderbeam says to me, if it's like if Drake and Josh met up with Ren and Stimpy. I don't know if I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that, but if you're a fan, you're the expert.
Mm-hmm.
Most obvious censorship or edit in a 4 Kids anime dub you watched as a kid from Zora
Oh,
Buena Onda.
Yu-Gi-Oh when they're
Yep,
pointing their
finger guns. That's
fingers.
exactly what I was thinking too.
Yes.
100%.
That's the
Oh yeah,
best. That's
it's
so good.
basically if you don't know somehow, there are points in the battle in the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh, where like Pegasus has henchmen that in the original have guns, but of
Yep.
course you can't have guns being pointed at children, I guess. So instead of like I don't know, editing their hands to be at their sides or putting like some sort of laser gun or something. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying these are great answers, but like all they do, they literally just have the characters point like, and
Yeah.
it's the goofiest, dumbest looking thing that there's obviously something missing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, it's the goofiest thing. Um,
It's great. It's great.
yeah, yeah.
Then of course there's I mean, it's not really censorship, but they obviously like they'll adjust the dialogue to compensate. Like Pegasus isn't drinking wine, he's drinking fruit juice. The finest fruit juice.
uh,
Yes. It's like, oh my
Game Champ
gosh.
has a really good series where he covers like every edit to Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's so heavily edited in America.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean I still think it's hilarious. I think it's a really funny show. Even as an adult, I think Yu-Gi-Oh works in as
Yeah.
bizarre and over the top as it is. Another pretty big example is in Yugi's duel with Kaiba in the
Mm-hmm.
what is that called? The island? Battle Island?
Duelist
Duelist
Kingdom.
Kingdom. There we go. Wow, how did I not remember that?
Yeah. I am a Yu-Gi-Oh nerd, trust me.
Yeah.
I can answer any of your questions.
But I love that in basically in the original, Kaiba threatens to kill himself if Yugi beats him, which
Yep.
is horribly dark. And I understand why they don't want that. But the what they had is that the shockwaves of the holograms could push
Mhm.
Kaiba over the edge and make him fall. Now, the implication is still the same. They didn't actually change that. Kaiba puts himself in a place where he will die if Yugi does what Yugi does, right? It's still
Yep.
basically Kaiba threatening suicide. It's just a little more indirect than the way it was in the original. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, honestly though, like I've watched through the
Jellyfilled Donuts. Yes, yes, that's another pretty famous
yes,
one.
Jellyfield Nuts. I've watched through the first 2.5 seasons of the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, and I stopped halfway through season 3. I want to finish it because like there's a bunch of filler stuff that I've never seen that I'm like just
Yeah.
curious about. But no, manga all the way. Go
What
manga.
about
The anime is not
uh
the same.
well, I don't care, dude. I don't want to read the manga. I don't really care about a serious Yu-Gi-Oh. That sounds awful, to be honest with you.
No, it's not a serious Yu-Gi-Oh. It's a better Yu-Gi-Oh.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I haven't read the manga, but I don't know, man. I think a part of the charm is the stupid, horrible edits.
Mhm.
Another one isn't in Battle City when Yugi's facing like the Dark Magician guy. In the original, isn't it
Mhm.
just saw blades that threaten to like
They are real saw
that threaten to
blades.
just
Yeah.
like cut off the limbs of the characters? But in the English dub, they are like magical glowing like
Shadow Realm saw blades.
yes, that send you to
Yeah, if they touch you, you go to the Shadow
but
Realm.
don't forget, like the Shadow Realm sounds kind of worse than death because it's like you're
Mhm.
trapped for all eternity in like this horrible purple fog area, which to me sounds worse than not existing. But oh man,
Yeah, there's a lot of dark
dark
stuff
energy
in the
discs.
manga.
Yes, thank you, Toonjay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, there's a lot of dark stuff in it. There's also especially in like the first 7 volumes before the duelist stuff even starts, there's a lot of dark stuff that happens. Like there's one chapter where this killer breaks out of a jail and like he goes to a fast food restaurant and he's literally like threatening to kill Taya, who's known as Hanzo in the manga, and like Yugi challenges him to this this I forget what the deal is, but they basically make this thing where it's like you can't move once you say go, and Yugi somehow manages to like place this I forget what he places on the guy's hand. I think it's the bottle because he's like pouring a bottle of alcohol for the dude, and he puts the bottle on his hand, and then Yugi says go, so the guy can't move, but like he's got his lighter in his other. Oh no, okay, I'm completely butchering this. I am sorry. Let me start over.
we'll stop talking about Yu-Gi-Oh
Yugi
soon,
gives
guys.
him.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to get this out. So the criminal is pouring himself a glass of wine very slowly, and Yugi puts the lighter, which is ignited, on top of his hand, and the criminal can't move because if he shoots his gun, then the shockwave of the gun's gonna jerk his body. The lighter's gonna fall, but he's gonna keep pouring, and eventually, he's gonna have to move. So Yugi puts him in this position where he's going to just die. And what ends up happening is he like ends up shaking, and then like the lighter falls, and he just incinerates like right in front of Yugi in this fast food restaurant booth, like just right across from him. It's the most messed up thing. There's a lot of dark stuff in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Okay, so thank you for the super chat, Teddy Street. What is our favorite Avatar episodes? That is such a difficult question.
I don't know.
That is such a difficult question. I think my favorite underrated episode would be The Chase. Just because I mean I've talked about how much I love every element of that episode, including the showdown at the end and the sleep deprivation and the new dynamics with Toph. But I don't know if I could say that's the best overall. Crossroads of Destiny is really, really solid.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would go with Crossroads of Destiny, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. This is tough because there's a lot of good episodes.
Yeah, I mean, like, season 2 is nothing but just like straight bombs after they meet Toph.
Yeah, I love Zuko Alone. That's a good one.
It is.
The Puppet Master, I remember like that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Puppet Master works especially well as like a if you just kind of watch that episode alone. You don't have to
Yep.
watch the episodes.
Blood
Yeah.
bending. Yeah, I
I
don't
mean the
know.
finale is
That's tough.
great, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. Okay. From Dante. Actually, did you give an answer, Shadow?
See, I don't know if I can just name one. That's like my struggle. But I'll just go with Zuko alone for now. I'm sure that answer will
Okay.
change, but
Um, Dante Bazia asks, do you think Rugrats would be successful if it came out as a new show today, not as a reboot? First of all, to answer your other question, I'm gonna go ahead and pass on being on your podcast at the moment. But thank you, I'm flattered. But as far as like if Rugrats was a new show today, I don't think it would be because like just on a base level, there's been a number of other talking baby shows and movies like Boss Baby. Like it's
mm,
not
mhm,
strictly a suit. I think part of what made Rugrats so novel at the time is like a story from a baby's perspective. It'd been done before. Like it's there's it's that one show with Bruce Willis. The one movie with Bruce Willis is a talking. Look who's talking now. Like it's been done before, but in animation form, it was relatively new. Plus, Muppet Babies. That's a good point. I don't know. I think that the novelty of there not being as many cartoons at the time really helped Rugrats. Rugrats is a good show, absolutely. But I don't know that its tone, like its pacing, its animation art style, I don't know that assuming it's all the same, I don't know that would resonate today as much as it did with kind of like the grungy 90s.
mhm. Yeah, I don't know. I know that there was supposedly that reboot in the works. I don't know. And the movie, I think Rugrats has run its
That's not what the
course. I
question
don't know
was.
what more. I know it's not what the question was, but I'm just saying Rugrats has run its course. So if they did try to like, put Rugrats out nowadays, not a reboot, but just in general, I I, I don't think it would because the whole concept of babies has been done to death. I mean, definitely like when you look at other shows that have been babyified, like I don't know, Baby Looney
Total
Tunes
drama.
or Total Drama, a pup named Scooby Doo. Like there's a lot of kids spin-offs of shows that have come and gone since when Rugrats initially came out. So if it were to come out today, I don't think it would do the same because that whole concept had been done. I mean, that's assuming that everything else stays the same, of course, but I don't think it would.
Yeah. Um, With you bringing up gatekeeping, I was wondering if you think there's a similar form of that when talking positively about Nicktoons past a certain time period. Um, so thank you, Acme Anvil, for that. It is tricky because I don't, you know, like my opinion is my opinion, and I don't try to use my opinion as a way to shut other people up. If obviously neither Shadow nor I are a huge fan of Nickelodeon cartoons from the past like 5-8 years. But that's not to say that I have any problem with anyone who does like those shows,
Mm-hmm.
it's really tough because there are certainly people out there that are like, Nickelodeon was never good after Avatar and everything after it is garbage and anyone who likes it is an idiot. And but I would never I don't know. I feel like sometimes people have strong opinions and other people mistake strong opinions as trying to shut down other people's opinions. And that's not the point of sharing your opinions online. Um, I think there are definitely people out there that do gatekeep and do try to spin a narrative, and that anyone who doesn't follow that one narrative is wrong and bad and stupid and an idiot. And those people are terrible at discussing things. And, you know, that's how I think that that's not a good way to discuss things on the internet or not on the internet. You
Yep.
can have your opinion and other people can have their opinion, and those things are not mutually exclusive, especially when we're talking about opinion on if you think a cartoon is good or not. It's not like opinion on if this bill should pass Congress or something, where that's something that can really affect people. So yeah, I think that gatekeeping sometimes happens, and I think that it sucks. It's I can be strong in my opinion that I really don't like a lot of things post Avatar on Nickelodeon, but still understand and be fine with the fact that other people feel the exact opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just kind of like having a closed-minded view. It just it's not good for anybody. It's really not. I mean, everything else you said, I pretty much agree with, so I don't have much else to add. You pretty much hit the nail on the head. It's not good for anybody.
Right.
So
Like I know not not when Nintendo does a video on something, right? Something that's generally been hated before, like Fanboy and Chum Chum or whatever. I know there's a lot of people that kind of like follow the narrative and go, yeah, this has always been a hidden gem, or this has always been this, or whatever. And it's not Nick's fault. Nick's just like he makes persuasive arguments and he's good at discussing things. Nick is not a gatekeeping person, but I definitely see sometimes in the wake of him talking about something, people just kind of blindly follow it, or people act as if everyone isn't like now renouncing their negative opinion on Fanboy and Chum Chum, they're just wrong and stupid. And that's not right either. You know, it's great that shows that got overlooked or that had negative opinion be the dominant narrative are now getting a chance to have positivity as the dominant narrative. But that doesn't, again, neither case should invalidate anyone else. So yeah. Also, Nintendo's cool and you should watch his videos.
he is. He is.
But yeah, I think a lot of people for some reason complicate a strongly voiced opinion with an opinion that's coming off as objective. You know, I don't have to say in my opinion a million times because it should just be inferred that anything I say is my opinion.
Yep.
But unfortunately, sometimes people act if you don't preface it with that a million times that you are trying to force a narrative on people who don't agree with it, and that's not right.
This is a question I want to talk about. Blythe says, I heard someone on Twitter say that there are too many happy-go-lucky lead characters in kids shows these days compared to 2000s, where you have more cynical leads like Invader Zim. Is that true? I say yes. I know this is an interesting topic of debate, but I say yes, because that's something that I've brought up a few times. When I look at shows like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying all of these characters are exactly the same, so don't think I'm saying that. But when I look at a lot of shows like Steven Universe, OKKO, Kipo, Adventure Time, Hilda, Craig of the Creek, a lot of these shows all feature happy-go-lucky protagonists. You don't like when I look at shows in the 2000s, Invader Zim, that's a good example of going against that. You've got shows like Grim Adventures. Billy isn't the same kind of happy-go-lucky as he's more like stupidly oblivious. That's kind of a different category. And then you've got Foster's Home, and you've got excuse me. I lost.
Yeah, but I hate the fact that Blue's a jerk and Foster's. I'll go ahead and disagree with you.
I mean, I'm just saying. I think that I'm not saying that the fact that they aren't happy-go-lucky is necessarily a good thing. I'm just saying I notice it a lot more in today's cartoons than I did back then.
I mean, some of that probably has to do with SpongeBob, but I'll also say to counterpoint, as someone brought up in the chat, Steven Universe Future is definitely the opposite of Steven in Steven Universe. He is not a happy-go-lucky character in Future.
Oh well, yeah, and that's obviously a progression.
In Adventure Time may start out that way, but certainly does not stay that way.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that the characters can't change, but it's just a pattern I noticed. Wander, Star Versus, Final Space, like these shows are just coming to me where it's like, I'm not saying they can't change, and I do hope they change because that obviously helps.
Hey, Alyssa has a good point. Teen Titans Go is cynical, and people hate it for that.
To be fair, I didn't hate the first season and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a problem for me, but...
What do we think of Fanboy and Chum Chum?
I don't.
Yeah,
care. I never really watched it.
The creator is a co-creator of Glitch. Yeah, I remember disliking it at the time. I disliked what I saw of it, but I didn't actually watch a whole lot of it, so I don't know how informed my opinion was back then, to be truthful. Um, I'm not interested in going back to it. Nothing about it makes me want to, but um, I'm not going to go on and say it's the worst thing ever because, again, it's been a long time since I've seen anything on the show. So,
I just remember being really annoyed by it, and I wasn't a fan. So I have nothing but negative memories towards it. I'm not saying that, my opinions would be the same, but I have no desire to go back either. So it's just kind of it's in the past.
mm.
It's not for me. Excuse me.
But hang on, real quick before we get to the super chat. Nathaniel
Yeah.
Fogo brings up a good point: is that we are kind of in an anti-cynical era, or at least we were, in the sense that I feel like optimism and cynicism culturally, at least in America, do go in cycles, like 1 decade or 2 decades at a time, where it's because there's always a counterculture, right? There's always teenagers that want to be counterculture, and so if the culture is sarcastic cynicism, then the counterculture is going to be no, we don't have to be cynical. We can be optimistic and happy. And if there's been too much of that, then along comes new teenagers and new young people or whatever that are like, well, no, things have been too optimistic. It's unrealistic. We got to be cynical. So,
Yep.
I don't necessarily. I agree there aren't as many cynical characters, but I'm not particularly bothered by it. I also find that with there being more adult animation, I care less that children's animation tends to push more positive, happy, feel good feelings. Although again, I also admit that sort of thing has damaged shows like Steven Universe. Yeah. Tim Whitfield, another super chat. Overall thoughts on Star vs. the Force of Evil? I have never seen it, or I've only saw a few episodes, and I liked what I saw, but I know the show goes on to be something completely different, so I don't think my opinion really matters.
Yeah, I watched the first 2.5 seasons of Star, and then I heard like the end of season 3, and then all of season 4 is like a complete mess that ruins the show. And because of that, like I've not watched anything else. I just kind of stopped somewhere with stuff happening in season 3 that I don't want to get specific in case somebody's in the middle of watching.
I might end
it,
up
but
still finishing it someday.
yeah, I don't know. I liked season 2. I did. I really liked season 2 and the end of season 1, but season 3 just kind of lost me, and I heard it just goes downhill from there.
Mm-hmm.
So
We got another super chat
right.
from Lenny Carl. Thank you for the super chat. Are you as annoyed with HBO Max as me? It's not on Roku or Switch, which is all I use to stream, and browser streaming will let me stay in full screen. Yeah, no, it is absolutely. I personally don't have a Roku or a Fire Stick, but I am a big advocate for people who do. They are like the most
Yeah.
most used streaming devices beyond like a phone, I would say. That they are the ones that typically have everything. They are cheap and affordable and accessible to a lot of people, no matter what your income level, no matter how entrenched in streaming you are. Most people have a Fire Stick or a Roku. As far as Switch goes, only Hulu's on Switch and YouTube, so I wouldn't really expect it to be there personally. But no, I feel you, and I agree that it not being on Fire Sticks or Roku's is a huge problem. And no matter how much content they add to the service or any other things being fixed, I think that this is honestly priority number one.
Yeah. And the same can be said for Peacock too.
God, Peacock. Yeah.
I wanna watch some stuff on there, but there's no app for my Samsung TV, so like I can relate to the whole Roku Amazon thing for Peacock service, and like I get it. The frustration is definitely there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope they get it figured out because
they're in
nobody's
negotiations
happy.
allegedly. Or they were at one point.
Yeah. Yeah, I know nobody's happy about this, so I hope they get it figured out. But we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah. I'm still trying to work on the HBO Max review. It is so tough reviewing a service that continues to change and grow. Because they, regardless of how you feel about HBO Max when it launched, it definitely is adding things and promoting things and doing a lot more of an effort than it initially did. So there are some ways that I feel like it has improved quite a bit from the start, in terms of like amount of content and stuff. But then at the same time, other things like the Roku and Fire Stick issue is still prevalent. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, any hot takes you regret making from Cartoon Post? Oh,
Hmm.
always. I'm sure there's tons of hot takes I've made that I go
Yeah.
back on. Um, I one that I kind of regret is Camp Coral. Not I regret being so strong against it for the Hillenberg aspect of it, because it is a gray area whether Hillenberg knew or not. Um, I still find it disrespectful that they announced it so soon after his passing. And I still find it, just personally, I think that Nickelodeon's milking the show like crazy. I think the concept for Camp Coral looks stupid. But I do regret some of the language I used in that Hillenberg video, because I was mad, and there is a possibility that this was a misunderstanding, and I you know, I don't know. I don't necessarily want to let people off the hook for making greedy corporate decisions, but there is gray area there, and so that's one thing I kind of wish I could not necessarily take back, but at least redo how I talked about it initially.
Mm-hmm. I know the one that comes from me. I never did it in a video, but it was something that I had mentioned from time to time. I think on Twitter and when I used to have a Tumblr was I used to for seasons 5 and 6, everybody referred to it as the Chris Savino era and blamed him for the show being terrible. And I used to go out and say, and I still stand by this in the sense that, one person doesn't just completely change everything on a show. Seasons 5 and 6 of Powerpuff Girls featured a lot of new writers coming in, a lot of people leaving. Like, it wasn't just the fact that he got in charge. And I defended him. Now, obviously, in retrospect, I don't want to defend him anymore. Like, I don't have any respect for him. So I'm sure there were things about me saying like, "Oh, he was probably a good person." No, I would go back and rewrite all that in a heartbeat. I still stand by the principle, but like I don't want to, you know, even defend that. And then the other thing I did was my original Once Upon a Townsville review, but I've since taken that down, redone it. It's better now, so that's already been taken care of. So that was like the other regret I remember having, but I since corrected
What
that.
about, you know what? Maybe you don't want me to bring that up, so I won't say it.
Okay, mention it after the stream because I'm curious what you.
You took down the video. It was a pretty big thing. I think you know.
Oh, that one. I don't know. I stand by what I said. It's just that my video is being used to justify other
If you're
things
gonna
that
talk about it,
was
tell
not
people what
said
you're
in my
talking
video.
about at least,
Okay,
or don't
my
talk about
Jared
it.
video. My Jared video. People were using my video as quote unquote proof that the writer was a pedophile, and that's not even what I say in the video. I say he's not. I explicitly say it was probably an unfortunate misunderstanding, you know. And people were just taking my video, posting it other places, saying, "See here, he's a pedophile." And it's like, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what's in the video. And I didn't want people using my video and me as justification for that, because they were putting words in my mouth that I was not saying. So I took that video down. I still stand by what I said. It was a horrible look. There's a lot of bad implications from this situation, and I think an apology needs to be made, even though one never was. And this is all stuff that I actually mentioned in my A Star Is Blossom review of the episode where all that stuff spawned from. So if you want to hear like my full explanation, you can watch that. But the gist of it is, yeah, he wasn't, but people were twisting my words and making me seem like a source of that mindset, which I was not okay with. So that's why I took that video down.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
right.
Will we talk about Wander Over Yonder? Not on this show, and I have no interest in Wander personally.
Yeah.
What about Mr. Craig McCracken fan over here?
I might talk about Wander in a video someday, but I will say that whenever Kid Cosmic finally comes out on Netflix, the new Craig McCracken show, I'm sure, if we're still doing this stream show by then, I'm sure we'll talk about it. So, we can at least maybe say that. Of course, who knows when that's coming out. But...
Okay. All right, guys, we're probably going to go for a little bit longer and then call it, I think.
Yep, that sounds good to me.
Are we going to be doing an episode on the new Phineas and Ferb movie? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a guarantee.
Yeah. Can I say ScumBob episode one more time for fans in old times? Sure. I did.
There you go.
ScumBob. I don't know. There was a filter over it, so I don't know if I could say it the way you want me to, but there you go.
Hey, Pi, remember that Sonic Boom cartoon?
I try not to. No, I never saw it.
Oh.
It's Sonic, so I don't care about it.
Yeah. Had a lot of fourth wall jokes. That's what most people remember it for. So,
Are you ready for Seth Rogen to turn himself into a pickle? Thursday on HBO Max. Funniest stuff I've ever seen.
I can't wait.
Oh gosh.
Will I watch Steven Universe Future on HBO Max? Yes, I will. I will finally get around to watching that after so long because it'll be easily available.
There you go.
So that's all it took. Put your show on HBO Max or Disney Plus or something. I'll watch it then. That's all the incentive I need. Just make it so all I have to do is press the power button on my TV. And
All right, I guess we're gonna talk about the live action Lady and the Tramp next week then.
Okay, you know what? Never mind. I take that back. Oh, yeah, no thanks.
What era of bumpers for Cartoon Network is your favorite, not including CN City? I have a soft spot for Check It 1.0, not hitting on CN City, by the way, from Bluebird. Powerhouse. Yeah, I like Powerhouse more than I like CN City personally. The volume of the amount of bumpers, the styles that they made tons of different iterations on. The We'll Be Right Back and Back to the Shows are just absolutely iconic to me.
I love getting hit in the face with the newspaper.
Yeah. I love having Patience, my pet, you know. Cartoon Fridays, like but it's an age thing. So I mean, whatever era you grew up with is probably going to be your favorite, unless you grew up with the Yes era, in which I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Yes.
Yeah, that's. Oh, thankfully that was like 1 year.
Yeah. Speaking of which, are we still in the Check It era? I don't watch.
I think we're in like Check It 4 or 4.5 at this point. Like I think it's still going at like 10 years now.
I mean, I don't want to hate on the Check It era because they've come out with some cool bumpers. And I'm sure it is iconic to people who have like watched Cartoon Network this past decade. Oh no, we're in Mashup 2.0. Okay, what's Mashup about?
Oh, okay.
I've never heard about it. Mashup.
New. Oh dear.
Oh god.
Can we go back to the bump instead?
Your new favorite show.
Remember Har Har Thursdays? That was a thing.
That's a great name, and by great name I mean
It really
remember
is.
Fried Dynamite? You
Yeah,
get it?
Fried Dynamite.
It sounds like Friday night. LOL, so random. Oh god.
Yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah. You know what I think of when I think Cartoon Network? Live action, like preteens saying random stuff.
I think of a game show that takes place on a roller coaster
With 6
It's the
episodes.
same 3 roller coasters in all 6 episodes, and it looks like it was all shot within like 1 weekend.
Oh gosh.
It's the same 3 roller coasters in every episode. It's the same 3 ones. Oh.
Cash cab, but on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Boom. Bada bang.
We're in the money.
Shadow, did you know there's a Powerpuff Girls reference in The Simpsons?
I'm sure there is. I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
I know South Park has referenced to Powerpuff Girls in the video game Fractured But Whole.
I know the Powerpuff Girls is a reference to South Park in the episode with the imaginary friend.
That it does.
Those are two shows that like big-headed children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thanks for the.
There's also a reference to Powerpuff Girls in Blade 2. You can see it in the background on the TVs.
Thanks for the super chat again, Lenny Carl. Is your name a reference to The Simpsons? I like your profile picture, by the way. It's very Adventure Timey. Do you guys think we'll get another incarnation of Powerpuff, or is 2016 going to be the end of it? Personally, I want a PG reboot a la Samurai Jack Season 5. Oof.
Oh, you want it to be dark. Okay. I've seen some people say that. They want a darker Powerpuff Girls. I don't know if I'd want it on like the same darkness as Samurai Jack, but a more serious Powerpuff Girls, to kind of juxtapose the reboot. Yeah, I'd be fine with that. But I think PBG is at its best when it's got a balance of the two. Now, whether or not we're gonna get a reboot, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if Cartoon Network maybe pulled a Ben 10 in the next couple of years and, just started making PBG their girl Ben 10, basically.
I think it's a better candidate for
But I don't
HBO
know.
Max.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'd like to see good new Powerpuff Media. But I hope they don't just like expand on the reboot and what that's done.
Yeah, I'm good. Just never.
Yeah, I would rather never get anything Powerpuff ever again for the rest of time than get another incarnation similar to the reboot.
I'd rather Craig McCracken come back for like one more, like another anniversary special. I'd rather that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
All right, get in your last questiones.
Let's see. The 2016 designs are better than the original. That is a hard disagree right there. Hard disagree. No way. Nope.
Hey guys, throw out your
Not at all.
favorite hot takes for Powerpuff Girls 2016, especially if they're nice and positive. Tell me what you love about the reboot. Doesn't even have to be true. Just say some stuff that'll upset Shadow.
No, this is not the. No, this is gonna. Don't invoke my inner demons. Don't invoke my rage. I've been through so much.
The intro is good. You know what? I'll give you that.
The intro is good.
Yeah.
No, I've said that too. The intro is good. There's a few good episodes in there. Blunder Cup, I think, is a really good episode that I reviewed recently.
The new voices, yeah. I think I mean
okay.
after all this time, the voices. It's funny because the voices were it's talked about the most pre the show coming out, and I feel like
Yep.
of all the things with that show, like the voices range from to like completely fine. Like I thought I'd have a big problem with like Bubbles not being Tara Strong, but like honestly, like it's
Kristen Lee's great.
she's fine. I mean, it works. It's Buttercup's voice actress, like Buttercup definitely had some issues at the beginning of the show. I don't know if that maintained, but at the beginning it was definitely like trying really hard to make her voice very gruff. That just didn't seem natural. And yeah, Blossom seems fine.
I will say, as the series has gone on, I've liked Buttercup, reboot Buttercup less and less and less, and that also goes for the voice too. I'm nothing on the voice actress. I'm tired of hearing Buttercup's voice. Kristen Lee and Amanda Leighton did great, but
yeah, the voices are a minor issue compared to the major issues.
Absolutely.
Plus, the new voice actors make it easier to distance it from the original show, Teen Titans.
Although they kept all the male voice actors for whatever reason. That's not counterintuitive at all.
I think that the voice actress for Buttercup should have played every character. I'm sure she's a fine person. I'm not insulting her, but I just. I mean, but really, could you ever imagine anyone else as Mojo Jojo?
No.
Right? Like,
I can't imagine anyone else as Professor Utonium, but at the same time, I wish Tom Kane didn't come back. Because I just... It pains me what they did to him.
They did keep Miss Bellum's voice for the one episode, yes.
No, they didn't actually. They did not.
Oh.
No. Jennifer Hale voiced Bellum in the reboot, but Jennifer Hale does not voice Bellum in the original series.
She sounded good, though, from my memory.
She was fine, but yeah, it wasn't her. It was actually Jennifer Martin who voiced Miss Bellum in the original series. I get why people confuse the two because they're both named Jennifer.
Oh, that's Miss Keene has the same voice actor. That one does, yes.
Okay, yeah, that's Jennifer Hale. But Princess is not voiced by Jennifer Hale. For reasons that are pretty obvious, but I'm not going to get
Lenny
into
Carl says characters like the Green Gang, the Green Gang. The gang green. And the mayor looks so out of place and 90s looking compared to the clearly 2010s look of the other characters. Would you agree with that, Shadow?
I think the mayor looks fine. He honestly looks almost identical. Like there's minimal change.
No, they're saying it looks out of place. He looks out of place because of how
Oh
similar to the
no,
old show he looks compared to the redesigned.
I mean, I don't know. When the mayor's around the girls, it doesn't feel that out of place. But like, I guess when you compare him to all of the other Townsville citizens, yeah, he looks completely different from everybody else. And Ace and the Gangrene Gang for sure. Yeah, they don't look like they should be in the show at all. Ace especially, and there's one episode coming up that I have to review where they're actually the main villains. So in the whole 120 episode series, the Gangrene Gang gets to appear in, I think they appear in 3 episodes and they star as the main villain in one of
Why
them.
even bother, man?
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you guys for the questions. Thank you guys for being here. Don't forget, next week we are going to be, again, we will set our official start date at 4 p.m. And that is the time we will 100% be here, and we will be talking about the featured show. But if you come like 10, 15 minutes before then, we should be here to do a little pre-show. Not a hard time set on that, but just like a little bit before the show starts, we'll be here to answer some questions.
Yep. So look forward to that. And again, you can also put questions in the Discord server, and we'll probably open with a couple of those before we go to the chat. So just for everyone to get there. So yeah, definitely do that if you're interested in having your question answered at the beginning of the show before we get into the main discussion.
Yeah. All right. Pie Guy Rules out.
See ya.